The mockery at Station Omega. Captain Elena Vasquez stepped through the airlock of Station Omega with the confidence of someone who had spent 20 years commanding ships in the void between stars. Her dark hair was pulled back in a regulation military bun, and her blue Earth Defense Force uniform bore the scars of countless missions. The artificial gravity of the massive space station felt different from Earth's pull, lighter somehow, as if even the physics here reminded her that humanity was still the newcomer to this galactic community. Station Omega stretched out before her like a city built inside a metal moon. The central hub alone was larger than Manhattan, with corridors that spiraled away in impossible directions. Holographic advertisements in dozens of alien languages floated through the air, advertising everything from quantum processors to exotic matter. The air tasted of recycled atmosphere mixed with the metallic temps of advanced technology. Elena's escort, Lieutenant David Park, walked beside her carrying a briefcase containing humanity's formal petition to join the Galactic Trade Consortium. David was young, barely 25, with the nervous energy of someone attending his first interstellar diplomatic mission. His brown eyes darted constantly between the various alien species they passed in the corridors. The diversity of life forms around them was staggering. The Zinthri moved on 8 spider-like legs, their crystalline bodies refracting the station's lights into rainbow patterns. Floating Etherian energy beings drifted past in containment suits that hummed with power. The massive Krogian delegates stomped through wider corridors on legs like tree trunks, their stone-like hides scarred by centuries of warfare. Elena had studied every species they might encounter, but seeing them in person was entirely different. Each civilization represented thousands of years of technological advancement, space travel, and galactic politics. Humanity, by comparison, had achieved faster-than-light travel only 37 years ago, and had been known to the galaxy for less than a decade. The delegation chamber was a marvel of engineering that defied human understanding. The ceiling, arched hundreds of meters overhead, covered in a dome that showed real-time images of the galaxy itself. Stars pulsed and moved as the holographic display tracked actual stellar movements across thousands of light-years. Floating platforms held representatives from 43 different worlds, each one positioned according to complex protocols that Elena's briefings had barely explained. Ambassador Krekstar of the Nexari Empire commanded the largest platform, at the chamber's center. The Nexari were reptilian humanoids with scales that shifted color based on their emotions. Krekstar's scales currently showed deep purple with gold highlights, which Elena's cultural training identified as contempt mixed with amusement. The Nexari had controlled the largest military fleet in the galaxy for over 2,000 years, and they had never encountered a species they couldn't either conquer or intimidate into. Submission. Elena took her position at the speaking podium, a simple platform that felt tiny compared to the elaborate displays surrounding her. The translation matrix activated with a soft chime, ensuring that her words would be converted into the native languages of every species present. She placed her hands on the smooth surface and began the speech she had practiced for months. Honored delegates of the Galactic Trade Consortium, Elena said, her voice carrying clearly through the vast chamber. I am Captain Elena Vasquez of the Earth Defense Force, representing humanity and the planet. Earth, we come before you today seeking membership in this consortium and the mutual benefits that trade and cooperation can bring to all our species. The response was immediate and humiliating. Laughter erupted from dozens of platforms simultaneously. The Zinthri delegates created high-pitched, crystalline chimes that their species used to express mirth. The Krogians produced deep rumbling sounds, like avalanches. Even the normally dignified Etherians pulsed with colors that their translators converted into amused whispers. Ambassador Krekstar raised one clawed hand, and the chamber fell silent. When he spoke, his voice carried the authority of someone accustomed to commanding starfleets. Captain Vasquez, your species achieved interstellar flight mere decades ago. Your most advanced warships would serve as adequate shuttlecraft for our maintenance crews. Your entire planet's industrial output equals what a single Nexari factory produces in a standard month. What exactly do you propose to contribute to this consortium? Alina felt heat rise in her cheeks, but her military training kept her voice steady. Humanity offers unique perspectives on problem-solving and innovation. We've survived and thrived on a world that constantly tried to kill us through natural disasters, climate shifts, and resource scarcity. We've learned to do more with less, to find solutions when conventional approaches fail. More laughter filled the chamber, though this time it carried a sharper edge. Delegate Vexani of the Silicon Collective spoke in a voice like grinding metal. Primitive survival instincts are not the same as technological advancement, human. Your species burns chemical fuel to reach orbit while we manipulate gravity itself. You communicate through electromagnetic waves while we use quantum entanglement across galactic distances. The Etherian representative, Zilthara, added her whispering voice to the discussion. Your military consists of projectile weapons and explosive devices. We have witnessed your planet's conflicts through long-range observations. You fight with metal tubes that throw pieces of metal at each other. Such tactics would be amusing if they were not so tragic. Alina looked up at the assembled delegates and saw the same expression on every alien face, regardless of species. Condescending amusement mixed with barely concealed contempt. These civilizations had mastered sciences that humanity was only beginning to discover. They had conquered the challenges of interstellar travel, terraforming, and galactic politics, while humans were still fighting with swords and sailing ships. We understand the technological gap, Alina said, fighting to keep desperation out of her voice. But humanity has always found ways to compensate for our limitations. We use our disadvantages as advantages. Our ships may be simpler, but they're robust and adaptable. Our weapons may be primitive, but they're reliable and easy to manufacture. Our people may lack advanced technology, but we have something else. We have the will to never give up. Ambassador Krekstar's scales shifted to bright red with silver streaks, indicating anger mixed with predatory interest. Captain Vasquez, your species' stubborn refusal to acknowledge reality is noted. However, this consortium is not a charity, organization for backward civilizations. We have reviewed your planet's resources and capabilities. Earth possesses adequate mineral deposits and a large population suitable for labor. The Nexari Empire offers to purchase your world and relocate your population to suitable work colonies throughout our territory. The chamber fell completely silent. Alina felt her blood turn to ice as the full implications of Krekstar's words became clear. The Nexari weren't offering trade or partnership. They were offering to buy Earth and enslave humanity. The Nexari Empire offers 50,000 standard credits for the complete acquisition of your world and its population. Krekstar continued, "This is far more generous than your primitive civilization deserves. Your people would be well treated in our labor colonies and would contribute meaningfully to galactic civilization for the first time in your species' existence." Lieutenant Park took a half step forward, his hand instinctively moving toward the sidearm that diplomatic protocol had forbidden him to carry. Alina placed a restraining hand on his arm while never breaking eye contact with Krekstar. "Ambassador," Alina said, her voice now carrying the cold authority of someone who had commanded warships in battle. "Humanity is not for sale at any price. Earth is our home, and we will defend it against any threat. We came here seeking partnership, but if that's not possible, we'll stand alone." The laughter that erupted this time was deafening. Krekstar's scales shifted through a rainbow of colors that Elena's training identified as extreme amusement mixed with anticipation of violence. "Captain, your species' bravery is admirable, but entirely pointless. The Nexari Empire maintains a fleet of 10,000 warships, each one capable of destroying your entire civilization. If you refuse our generous offer, we will simply take what we want and dispose of the rest." Alina stood straight, her military bearing never wavering despite the threats surrounding her. "Then you'll discover something that every enemy of humanity has learned the hard way. We may be primitive, we may be outgunned, but we have never learned how to surrender. If you want Earth, you'll have to take it from our dead hands." Krekstar's scales turned almost black with fury. "Very well, Captain Vasquez. The Nexari Empire accepts your challenge. Our fleet will arrive at your pathetic world in 10 standard days. Use that time to write your species' epitaph, because the galaxy will soon forget that humanity ever existed." Elena gathered her dignity around her like armor and walked toward the chamber exit. Lieutenant Park followed, his face pale but determined. As the massive doors closed behind them, Alina whispered to her aide, "Phase 1 complete. Now we find out if 20 years of preparation was enough." Park looked confused but said nothing. As they made their way back to their shuttle, Alina allowed herself a small smile. The Nexari had made the same mistake that bullies always made. They assumed that because someone appeared weak, they actually were weak. In 10 days, the galaxy would learn the difference between appearing helpless and being helpless. The shuttle bay doors closed behind them as Elena's ship prepared to depart Station Omega. In the cargo hold, hidden beneath diplomatic supplies and cultural artifacts, lay technology that would redefine what it meant to be human in a galaxy full of predators. Asterisk. The hunt begins. Commander Marcus Chen stood in the command center buried 3 kilometers beneath the Colorado mountains, watching displays that showed the approaching end of everything he had sworn to protect. The screens around him painted a picture that would have terrified any conventional military strategist. The Nexari fleet had departed Station Omega exactly as predicted, and long-range sensors now tracked 847 warships moving through hyperspace toward Earth at maximum speed. Marcus was a compact man with graying temples and hands, scarred from years of working with experimental technology. He had started his career as a starfighter pilot during humanity's first contact wars, then moved into special operations before being recruited for the most classified project in human history. For 15 years, he had overseen preparations for this exact moment, knowing that humanity's survival would depend on making their enemies believe a lie. The command center was a marvel of hidden engineering that extended far beyond its original military specifications. Banks of quantum computers hummed with processing power that could coordinate operations across multiple star systems simultaneously. The screens showed ship positions, weapon status, and countdown timers measuring the hours until the next fleet would arrive to claim their prize. Dr. Sarah Kim approached from the technical section carrying a data tablet that glowed with classified information. She was humanity's leading expert on stealth technology and had spent the last decade developing systems that could fool sensors more advanced than anything Earth had officially created. Her black hair was streaked with premature gray from countless sleepless nights spent solving problems that conventional physics said were impossible. "Marcus, the final calibrations are complete," Sarah said, handing him the tablet. "Project Silent Thunder is ready for deployment. All stealth systems are operating within acceptable parameters, and the power cores are running at full capacity." Marcus scrolled through the technical data, noting power levels and system configurations that represented breakthroughs in human engineering. Any word from Elena's diplomatic mission, she performed exactly as expected. The Nexari took the bait completely. They're so convinced of their superiority that they never considered the possibility of deception. Their fleet composition matches our intelligence projections perfectly. In orbit around Earth, Captain Elena Vasquez stood on the bridge of the destroyer used Defiance, leading what every observer believed was humanity's pathetic last line of defense. Her ships formed a scattered formation near lunar orbit, 18 destroyers and 6 cruisers that looked laughably inadequate against the approaching alien armada. The vessels were old, some dating back to the early years of human spaceflight, with hull plating that showed the scars of decades of service. Elena was exactly where she needed to be, commanding ships that appeared to represent humanity's best effort at mounting a defense. Her crew knew their role in the deception and had trained for years to make their performance convincing. They would fight bravely, take realistic damage, and appear to be overwhelmed by superior firepower while buying time for the real defense to activate. "All ships report ready, Captain," her tactical officer, Lieutenant Commander James Wright, announced from his station. Wright was a veteran of the outer colony conflicts and had volunteered for this mission despite knowing the odds of survival were slim. Elena looked out at the stars through the bridge's main viewport, knowing that hidden among those points of light were weapons and defensive systems that would change the balance of power in the galaxy. "Remember, people, we need to sell this performance. The aliens are watching through their long-range sensors, and they need to believe we're giving everything we have. Fight hard, take hits, but don't throw your lives away unnecessarily." The response came back from 24 ships whose crews had trained for this moment for years. They knew they were the visible part of a strategy that would either save humanity or get them all killed in the attempt. They also knew that their apparent defeat would trigger weapon systems that the galaxy had never imagined. Back in the Colorado Command Center, Marcus received updates from observation posts throughout the solar system. Hidden sensors tracked the Nexari fleet as it approached, gathering detailed intelligence about their ship designs, weapon systems, and tactical formations. Every piece of information was being analyzed and fed into targeting computers that had been preparing for this battle for over a decade. "The Nexari commander is transmitting," reported communications specialist Ana Rodriguez from her station. "Admiral Vexcar is demanding Earth's immediate surrender and threatens to begin orbital bombardment in 6 hours. Marcus smiled grimly. Admiral Vexcar was known throughout the galaxy as the Nexari's most effective military commander. He had conquered 47 star systems and had never lost a significant battle. His arrival in the Sol system was intended to be a demonstration of Nexari power that would discourage other species from resisting their expansion. Send the standard defiant response. Marcus ordered, "Tell Vexcar that humanity will never surrender and that we'll fight to the last ship. Make it sound desperate and emotional." Dr. Sarah Kim monitored power levels from the massive fusion reactors hidden beneath the Rocky Mountains. The energy requirements for Project Silent Thunder were enormous, requiring the output of generators that officially didn't exist. For months, power grids across North America had been quietly rerouted to mask the enormous energy consumption happening deep underground. Power Core 7 is showing minor fluctuations, Sarah reported to her technical team. Bring the backup systems online and run a full diagnostic. We cannot afford any system failures when the shooting starts. Around Sarah, dozens of technicians worked at stations controlling technology that pushed the boundaries of human understanding. Holographic displays showed the status of weapon systems, defensive shields, and the massive cloaking field that had hidden humanity's greatest achievement. For 3 years, everything depended on their enemies continuing to believe that humans were primitive and harmless. Admiral Vexkar commanded his flagship, the Nexari battleship Worldbreaker, from a bridge that could coordinate the movements of entire fleets. He was a veteran of 100 campaigns and had personally overseen the conquest of species far more advanced than humanity. The bridge's main screen showed the pathetic human fleet arrayed around their homeworld like children playing at war. "Admiral, the humans have rejected our surrender demand," reported his tactical officer. "Their fleet is maintaining defensive positions around their planet's moon." Vexkar's scales shifted to deep red with gold highlights, displaying his anticipation of easy victory. "How many ships do they have in total?" 24 vessels, Admiral. None larger than a light cruiser by our classifications. Their largest ship appears to be approximately 400 meters in length, with primitive armor and projectile weapons. "Pitiful," Vexkar growled. "Deploy the fleet in standard intimidation formation. I want these humans to understand the futility of resistance before we begin their destruction. Perhaps watching half their ships die will convince the survivors to surrender their world peacefully." The Nexari fleet moved into attack formation with practiced efficiency. 847 warships arranged themselves in a sphere around Earth's orbital space, their weapons-powered and targeting systems locked onto the human defenders. Each Nexari vessel was larger and more heavily armed than the entire human fleet combined. On the bridge of the UES Defiance, Alina watched the alien fleet surround her forces with overwhelming firepower. Her tactical displays showed weapon signatures that could vaporize her ship in seconds, shields that could deflect anything her fleet could throw at them, and armor that had been tested against the weapons of a dozen conquered civilizations. Incoming transmission from the Nexari flagship. Lieutenant Commander Wright reported. "Put it on screen," Alina ordered. Admiral Vexkar's reptilian face appeared on the main display, his scales now showing bright red with silver streaks indicating predatory pleasure. "Human Captain, I am Admiral Vexkar of the Nexari Imperial Fleet. You command brave but foolish warriors. Surrender now, and I will grant your crews quick deaths. Continue this pointless resistance, and I will ensure that your species' final moments are filled with pain." Alina stood straight, her uniform crisp and her expression defiant. "Admiral, I am Captain Alina Vasquez of the Earth Defense Force. Humanity doesn't know how to surrender, and we don't fear death. If you want our world, come and take it." Vexkar's scales shifted through a spectrum of colors that Alina's cultural training identified as extreme amusement mixed with bloodthirsty anticipation. "Very well, Captain Vasquez. You have chosen your species' fate. Fleet commanders, begin the demonstration. Destroy half the human ships and leave the survivors to contemplate their helplessness." The Nexari fleet opened fire with weapons that lit up space like a miniature star. Energy beams that could slice through planetary crust lanced out toward the human fleet, while missile salvos numbering in the thousands streaked across the void. The display of firepower was designed to overwhelm and terrify any surviving humans. Into immediate surrender, Alina gripped her command chair as the first wave of enemy fire reached her fleet. 3 destroyers vanished in expanding spheres of plasma, their hulls vaporized by weapons more powerful than anything humanity had officially developed. The remaining ships scattered, returning fire with chemical missiles and magnetic accelerator cannons that sparked harmlessly against next shields. Hull breach on Deck 7, damage control reported. Engineering reports power fluctuations throughout the ship. Maintain course and speed, Alina ordered. Continue targeting the enemy flagship. Deep beneath the Colorado Mountains, Marcus Chen watched the tactical display with satisfaction. The battle was proceeding exactly according to plan. Elena's fleet was taking realistic casualties while appearing to fight desperately against impossible odds. The Nexari was so focused on the visible human ships that their sensors never detected the massive energy signatures building throughout the solar system. "Sarah, how long until we can activate Silent Thunder?" Marcus asked. Dr. Kim checked her calculations one final time. 14 minutes until full system activation. All targeting computers are locked onto priority targets. The Nexari fleet has positioned itself exactly where our simulations predicted they would want to be. Marcus nodded, feeling the weight of humanity's future pressing down on him. In 14 minutes, the galaxy would discover that human beings were far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. The species that had been mocked and dismissed was about to demonstrate why. Underestimating humanity was the last mistake their enemies would ever make. On the bridge of the UES Defiance, Alina watched 2 more of her ships die under Nexari fire, while maintaining the performance that would save her species. In her cargo hold, sealed behind bulkheads that could withstand direct nuclear hits, lay the control systems for humanity's greatest secret. In less than 15 minutes, she would give the signal that would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. Admiral Vexgar observed the human fleet's destruction with growing satisfaction. These primitive creatures fought bravely, but courage without technology was merely an elaborate form of suicide. Soon, Earth would belong to the Nexari Empire, and humanity would take their place alongside dozens of other conquered species in the labor colonies of the Outer Rim. He had no idea that he was about to become the first Nexari admiral in 2,000 years to lose a fleet in battle. Asterisk.